Welcome to another weekly edition of our StaySmart newsletter and podcast, brought to you by Viciniti Corporate Housing, where we try to keep you updated on what we see happening in travel, corporate housing, relocation, hospitality, anything that we think might be relevant to you and to your company. I'm in my hometown of Kansas City this week. Been here for several weeks, but I do have quite a bit of travel coming up in the next couple of months and going to be on a lot of flights. And so several of the articles that we have this week are in regards to airlines and air travel. The first article is about the shortage of airline traffic controllers. This article mentions we could be short up to 3,000 people in the next year. And this is something that could be with us for the next 5 to 7 years if we don't see more hiring. It's interesting to see that there are particular areas where it's even worse. So we see in the New York City area, they had to reduce flights into the New York City area. It mentions the Newark airport by 10%. And that was expanded into October. And I think that'll probably be expanded into next year because that's where we see in the New York area the most shortage of airline traffic controllers. And anytime there's going to be a weather issue, we're going to see travel disruption like we did this summer in the coming years if we don't see more hiring. The article mentions one solution may be to have universities that offer training for airline traffic controllers to be able to certify at the university level, and obviously more funding. So it'll be interesting to see how that rolls out in the next couple of years. The next article is about 2 new airlines that are rolling out this month that are business class or premier class only airlines. The first one is BermudAir out of Bermuda. It's going to be flying into Fort Lauderdale, Boston, and New York City. Obviously, it's business class only. Starting in November, it'll have 1-to-1 ratio of seats. So basically, there are seats that are window and aisle. There's no middle seats or anything like that. Obviously, there's no baggage fees, free Wi-Fi, no luggage fees, an extended menu, what you would expect with a business class ticket. And the second one is an Asian airline company called Beond Airlines. That's going to be a premier airline only, which is kind of a top tier airline. And what's interesting, there has been some airlines that have rolled out some adult only or no kid seating areas. So I'll be curious to see if things like this take off. I do think the business class only is an interesting idea. And then finally, we have an article about business lounge. So Delta Airlines is severely restricting access to their Sky Lounge access because of, as they say, overcrowding. We've seen airline lounge has been really popular the last couple of years. So Delta is restricting access based on your tier or the credit card level that you have, limiting it to 6 to 10 visits per year starting next year. Unless you have the American Express Black Card, it doesn't apply to that. But all your other airline credit cards, you'll be limited to 6 to 10 visits to their business lounges starting next year. So that'll be interesting to see. Business lounges, airlines have been really popular for the last couple of years. We saw United Airlines in Denver just unveil a new 35,000 square foot lounge. And they're planning on a third one. So each terminal at DIA will have business lounge access. So they're really doubling down on the lounges and on DIA. So it'll be interesting to see how that continues to roll out. And then not included in our newsletter, but there's a lot of news recently about a Delta airline that had a flight that had to turn around because there were some issues. Someone had some bathroom issues and kind of a gross story. It's why we include it in the newsletter, but I would love to hear your stories on what's the worst airline experience that you've had. I've not had anything like that, but definitely been on flights with severe turbulence, flight delays, flight cancellations, things like that. But I'd love to hear what has been the worst flight experience that you've had. Again, we would love to hear any feedback that you would have about airlines, business travel, anything that we think might be relevant. Please include it in the comment sections here or just send me a message. If you haven't subscribed to our newsletter or to our podcast yet, please do that. That's what I see transitioning this week. Take care, everyone.